Wait. Okay, here we are on our cutting edge webinar. I'm going to go over now to Facebook Live. Where we got Facebook Live here. Live on Facebook. That was easy. Okay, so now I have to go over here and hit another button while I'm sitting here waiting with Kelly McNelis. I can't wait to hear what she has to say tonight. Choose where you want to post your live video. Okay, sharing on the timeline, and here we go. We're live, loving it on Facebook. And welcome everyone to our cutting edge webinar, the Sisterhood of Truthtellers. Welcome, Kelly. I'm Judy Goss.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure to have you here. You all may know me as the TV host of Behind the Gates on AWE, or maybe as a radio show host. But tonight I am talking about my company, What Women Want. And we're What Women Want Networking. We started almost 8 years ago, and we're all around the country. We have our second annual national conference coming up. I'm so excited. It's like in 9 days in Atlanta, Georgia at the Hyatt Regency. Yeah, and Kelly, I'm on the line here with Kelly McNelis. She's one of our keynote speakers and presenters, and she's the founder of a company called Women for One. Now, Women for One is having a Truthteller Tour stop, I'm so honored to say, at our What Women Want conference in 9.5 days, not that I'm counting. And we're excited to find out what that's about, and really the Sisterhood of Truthtellers, find out what the meaning is behind that also, and how you can really tell your truth and live yourself a better life while doing it, which I actually didn't understand at first. So I know Kelly's going to clear up a few things here. And Kelly's also the best-selling author of Your Messy Brilliance, which I happen to love because I do feel like I'm a genius sometimes of my own messy brilliance, and a couple other people too, since I have twin teenage girls. So Kelly, thank you so much for supporting us at the conference. You're always there for everyone, it seems like, and thank you for being a speaker and everything that you do, really.
Thank you, Judy. Thanks for the great introduction. And I cannot tell you how excited I am about this conference. I mean, you have just created this beautiful venue for women to come and support one another. I mean, it's all about sisterhood. It's all about sharing. It's all about learning and connecting. So that's what I want to talk about tonight.
Well, yeah, and honestly, when I started my conference last year, it was a lot to think about a national conference, building from the local chapters that I was building with What Women Want Networking and starting this conference. And you were the first person really to have faith in me and to become a sponsor. And that really was the catalyst for all of this. So back at you, you're really behind women, I think sometimes more than you really know. You inspire people more than you know. So I'd like you to talk about, we know that Women for One's a global community. And you have over 800 Truthtellers from over 60 countries.
We're almost at 900, and we have over 60 countries now.
All right, love it. And people log into your website and tell their stories and are liberated and freed, and they can really use it to move forward in their lives. And now you've brought it to another level with the Truthteller Tour. Let us know about all of it.
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to say, just to speak to what you just said around the conference, there's something, I've been to many conferences, Judy, and whoever is on here, I just want you to know, if you're thinking about going, I know there's, or inviting friends to come, there's something really special about this conference, Judy, and I want to say it because I've been to many, all women conferences, and there's something about the fact that you created a conference of women that are kind, want to be collaborative, want to connect, want to support one another, and it shows and is reflected in every single aspect of the conference. And I left last year feeling inspired and feeling hope, really, for the world and for women in this world. And right now I feel like we need that a lot. We need that hope. We need that support. We need that courage to share our stories.
Especially women.
Definitely women.
Yeah.
And with that said, I do want to make a comment about that, because I really feel, Judy, that there's a lot of women out there, no matter what your political belief is. Women for One offers a platform for you to share your story. So we encourage dialogue. We encourage conversation. Women for One wants everyone to join us, because I think if we have the conversation about our disagreements in this country and in this world about anything, we can solve it, because, you know, the Dalai Lama said, the Western women are going to save this world. And I truly believe it. So thank you, Judy, for doing what you do with women and encouraging, being one of my biggest cheerleaders as well with my book and with Women for One. So I wanted to start with that.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, as you're talking about women telling their truths, and you feel like it can really solve a lot of the world's problems if we all speak up, speak up, and get together and support each other. And I'm just wondering, because I never really understood until recently how you can build an actual business on truth telling. I feel like sometimes I'm listening to, you know, to a little bit more than truths from people. And, you know, I think there's a fine line between telling your truth and using it as a story to build your business, and maybe, you know, using it too much also.
I agree. You know, we don't want to vomit our stories onto people. We want to recycle in our stories. We have to use our stories as fuel to take action and make conscious choice in our lives, to claim the lives that we want, to make our lives happen on our terms, and to support our families, support our sisters, support our children, you know, support our husbands and partners, and also support our businesses. So I completely agree with that. And I started Women for One because of this, Judy, as you know, and it has evolved into, after I wrote my book and created courses for women to really hone their voice and understand how they can speak their truth and how that will help themselves and, you know, the person and others that they love. I decided last year from my community, because of the need for my community, to start a Truthteller Tour where women connect in person, right? Not just online, which is wonderful, but in person, and actually have the courage to read an experience or speak about an experience that they encountered in their lives. And it's such a powerful tool to be able to do that, and also to be sitting in a room where you watch a woman have the courage to talk about or read an experience that they've had, release it so that they can like put it out there to the world. They can learn from it, but also we can be inspired and feel more connected and less alone. So that's really what the Truthteller Tour is about. It's about voice, it's about connection, and it's about courage.
And
Absolutely.
I imagine that they, you know, your life moves forward several steps. I mean, mine did when I started telling my story. I feel like, you know, it's like your truth, your story behind the truth, that type of thing. And you can really utilize it. I know you have 3 major aspects that you talk about when telling your truths and using your story to build yourself. And I want to stress also that this is for both business and personal. This is for moving yourself forward to success in every way, on every level.
And yes, I agree. This is a holistic, obviously, encounter. It was funny. I talked to one of my husbands. She's a former head of HR for a huge worldwide company a couple weeks ago. And she's like, Kelly, I'm sorry, but I got to be honest. Like, why would I want to tell my story to anybody? You know, she's been through cancer. She's been challenged by, being a parent. She's had death in her life, like we all have.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, that's really, thank you. As a businesswoman, why is it valuable to share your story? Well, first of all, Judy, and before I get into these 3 tips that I want to talk about, first of all, when you get a clue about what your experiences have happened in your life, you can actually have some awareness of why you make choices that you do in your life. So number 1, first and foremost, if you can really dive into some of the stories and the storylines that your head and your brain and your soul are telling you daily, you can get some awareness of that, so that it's not like, it's like the dog wagging the tail instead of the tail wagging the dog, right? It's like you can take control of your life instead of doing these unconscious actions and being triggered by something because of something that happened to you. You can go, oh, that's why I did that. because this happened to me. So I can make a choice to change that now. Or I can actually dive into the experience I had or the story I had to understand what happened to me and what value systems and belief systems I created from that. So this can help you in your business, and it can help you in your personal life, because in your business, you're constantly making decisions. These entrepreneurs, if you're a mid to high level manager, you're making choices all the time when you're interacting with people based on your values and belief systems. And those came from all the stories that you created and that you experienced when you were younger and throughout your life. So if we can understand our stories, we can dive into the bigger storylines of our lives, we can really take charge and take control of our lives so that we know what we're doing and make conscious choice. Does that make sense?
It does. It feels like a higher level of understanding, I guess, when we really dig into what our stories are, what we're about, and really how, it does make sense. And how we react to things, possibly if we're running a business or even, trying to run our family, I guess, is what I do. Yeah. And we can kind of step back and think, oh, wow, how I just reacted to that, is really going to take me to another level of success, or it's not, and I'm feeling like sometimes the way we react to things are very one-dimensional, right? We don't think about them and we keep moving on, and it's like a reaction, right, to what we're doing, but then it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. Instead of learning and being in awareness. So for example, I'm a mom, you're a mom, right? And even when you're in business, you're a mom, right? And so there are these places where sometimes I'm triggered by my daughter. I have, as you know, a lot of children. And so my daughter will trigger me, and I'll be like, instead of reacting right away, which sometimes, it's messy. That's my book, Your Messy Brilliance. I stop and I go, why am I triggered right now? And ask those questions and get really curious, because if we don't do that, when you have an employee that's not communicating properly to you and you're like, oh my gosh, like if you cannot communicate, like I'm not going to move forward if you cannot communicate clearly with me, right? And you get triggered, and I mean, personally, I get frustrated and impatient. If I can just take a deep breath and really get curious about why I'm so triggered, I think it's really important to be able to take the next step and make a conscious choice about how to move forward. That can be in business, that can be in your personal life. So I definitely wanted to address that, because if you don't know why you're getting triggered, you're just a mess. You're all over the place. Like you've got to reel it in and get very clear about how to move forward.
Flipping the perspective of how you're thinking. I remember when the kids were toddlers, I would try to get them out of the house really quick, and we'd always be late for my daughter's tap dancing class. And I'd always get mad at her, and I'd say, you're not ready. And then after a while, I thought to myself, okay, first of all, she's a kid, and you're the one that's telling her when to get ready. Take a step back and tell her 15 minutes before you tell her, and see what happens. And all of a sudden we're on time, we're out of the house, and I'm not yelling at her anymore. So it really is a matter of, I think sometimes too, just flipping that perspective and thinking, okay, wait a minute, I need to really step back here and work at from a different angle.
Absolutely. And one more example of that is like, I have to learn that my children and employees and anyone I work with need to experience some natural consequences so they can learn, right? And I was raised in a way where I felt like the world was my whole responsibility. So I learned that about myself. And so I'm always trying to save everybody. I'm that codependent. Like, let me just make sure everything's okay.
Like the mother hen of all of these women telling their stories. It's awesome.
Right. So in moving into 50, as I just did 2 weeks ago, I'm really setting the intention that I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let people and my children experience some natural consequences because they're not my responsibility. And so that's a new lesson for me. And the reason I understand that lesson is because I looked at the stories that happened to me when I was younger and when I was growing up, where I always took everything on and I was so serious about everything. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't all my responsibility. There are some things that are, but a lot of times they're not. So that's just another example, because I think it's really nice for, our webinar, this webinar, to talk about real life examples so people can apply it in their lives.
Yeah, no, totally. And I feel like we're moving towards the collaboration part of it. So you have this, clarity, and you have this awareness, and now you're really, thinking about who you are and how you react to things, and that type of thing. What's the collaboration part of it? How do you reach out and go find, these women? I feel like I was so lucky when I found you. I don't even remember anymore how we met. I think online. But not everybody has that opportunity. Not everybody, is out there all the time online. They've got, 8 to 6 jobs, and, they have kids and everything else. How can we feel less alone, and create that sisterhood that will lead us to eventually being really safe to tell our stories?
I love that question. And I think before I go to collaboration, I just want to say truth telling really helps us gain a better understanding of who we are. But sisterhood gives us that courage to move into that space around taking action and looking at our lives. And so I think the power of sisterhood and collaboration is so key, especially in these times today, and also, in business and in our personal lives. Collaboration and sisterhood really go together. So if we don't trust, like for example, you and me, I met you and I really held presence and I listened to you. And one of my favorite things about you was that you didn't try to get it right. You were like, you know what? Here's my story. And I was like, oh my gosh, how refreshing is this? Here's this absolutely gorgeous, like beautiful woman that's modeled, that looks like she has it all. And she's like, here's what happened in my life. And you were just so transparent and so real that I felt very safe with you. And I think there's a lot of women that feel safe with women that can do that. That yes, we have to put on this persona, but we can also project transparency, warmth, and connection. So once we create those values that we want and we're looking for in our sisters, then we can move into making a choice and get clarity, like you talked about, and make a choice to collaborate with those women and trust them. Because I think, especially in business, we as women have been taught to kind of, go into our masculine and be like men and one up each other, right? Because that's the model we've learned in the years, especially us both being 50. But now we're moving into a space where women can really use all of the feminine principles, where it's flexibility, their intuition, their connection, their communication, all of those things. We can really use those to our benefit to collaborate effectively in business instead of trying to be like men. And that's what I would challenge each woman. And when we collaborate, if we could all inhabit that top space together where we use all of our great qualities of the feminine to collaborate, the sky's the limit for us as women. So I would challenge all the women as a tip to really, really use what you have as a woman and your strengths and qualities, and not try to be like the traditional hierarchy of business and men when you go into the workspace and when you want to be successful in your life.
So don't try to act like men, basically.
Yeah, but more importantly, really try to inhabit who you are, and don't like no apologies. Like really inhabit that place of communication, that place of collaboration. No apologies around that intuition, because I think men use intuition all the time, but they don't call it that, right? And so women.
What do you think they call it? Like what?
Well, I mean, I know, my husband's business, they're like, well, I'm just, that feels right to me. But they won't say, well, I checked in with myself, or I talked to my friends about this, or these women, and I checked in with my girls, and, this is what we all feel. It's more of, well, I think this makes logical sense. In general, I'm not bashing men. I love men. I love my husband. I'm just saying in general, that feminine aspect of intuition and power, we need to inhabit a little bit more and really honor, instead of pushing it to the side and trying to be like men.
And I think, embracing the men and how they do things too, honors that also. I mean, there's a certain line, obviously, that, men cross that we can't deal with, obviously. But I think really embracing the differences about us and how we go about things, you know, and part of, I think, the sisterhood of truth telling, that magical, I guess, key that we can use to open doors is really, you know, talking about things like this and really supporting each other in a way that we can approach men and work with them on a higher level. I feel like sometimes women almost dismiss other women when they work with them.
Mm-hmm.
But like especially the women that act more like men, I guess. You know, they take on this tough demeanor, and then it's, you know, they're
Yes.
just also.
I agree with that completely. And, you know, a lot of times the women that have that tough demeanor are sometimes the most vulnerable and fragile underneath that tough demeanor. And if you kind of, you know, really get curious, and I keep coming back to the word curiosity, really get curious about what a woman's story is. So not only thinking about your own story and getting awareness, but when you're sitting with other women or men, anyone, right? What is their story, Judy? So what is their story?
I think curiosity is your first chapter, right, that you talk about.
It is. Yeah. Look at you.
And, yeah, because that got me curious as to why. Because I felt like, you know, after you told me being curious is really the first step, you know, to discovering yourself and figuring it out. It all made sense after that. You know, it really made sense that if you step back and ask yourself those questions, why am I doing this? Why am I reacting like this? And why do I not like this person at work? Or why are we not getting along? It can really lead to greater things.
It really, I mean, it's the most important tool of my book, because really we need to understand, like, you know, I have my own belief systems, other people have theirs, but why can't we have conversation about it? Women are the ones that are going to have that conversation so that we can really come together and understand one another. And the only way we can do that is through curiosity. We have to get curious, whether it be in a professional position, in your personal life, with your partner or your children. You got to start asking the right questions, because if you don't, you're going to feel like all alone on an island and you're not going to feel connected. And that is the other tool I have, is connection. Really, really try to figure out who you connect with, because it's so important. And when you have that connection, hang on to that, cherish it, and really challenge those women that you feel connected to really challenge you. You know, it's not always, you know, butterflies and everything. Like, I have friends that challenge me on my beliefs, that challenge me when I do something, and I still love them. It's not all about being okay and making it okay. It's about really challenging one another and being there in a truthful way. So
we have connection, clarity, and collaboration. I feel
absolutely.
Like those are the three major things that sharing our stories with a supportive sisterhood can offer us, right? So
absolutely.
What's the first step in applying those tools? So I'm sitting over here, and maybe I haven't shared my story yet with the world, which was several years ago. So what would be the first step? The first step I took, because I have a networking company, so I could kind of test it out in front of people, and I could say it to a few people and then see how they react, and then move forward. And I kept sharing and sharing. But other people don't necessarily have that connection. So what would be their first step, maybe in, you know, when they get to work, or if they're with their family, and they really have something they just really need to get out, or they just feel like they need to share their truths? What would they do first?
I would think the first thing they would do is think about connecting with oneself, where they write down their story, or with a trusted person, a trusted sister or person in their lives, where they would have the courage to share, even if it's not everything, but a few things around what they're struggling with, so that the other person would not try to fix what was going on, but would mirror what's going on for them. That's really important. You don't want the fixers in your life. You want people that will actually hold space and say, you know, ask the questions, get curious with you, right? Mm-hmm. And really go with you on that journey. If you don't have that, a journal is perfect for that. Women for One, getting online, looking at the other stories that are similar to yours, helps you to feel less alone, helps you to feel more connected. So I think connection is the first place you would start, because then you can move into that clarity space where you can really, when you experience confusion, connect with someone and have them challenge you, not try to fix you, but challenge you in the experience, in the challenge you're having, so that you guys can kind of figure it out together. Because I've done that in conferences, I've done that in workshops. It's so amazing, even with strangers. Sometimes when you have an issue and you just toss it out there, it is amazing the information and wisdom you get back from a person that's holding that neutral space and not trying to fix you. I love that. And then you can move into the collaborative space. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about, at the conference, you have this at what Women Want National Conference. That's what we're talking about. So Women for One is going to be holding a Truthteller Tour stop at the conference. And, you selected 4 different people to tell their truths on stage. And I'm wondering how that's going to help. I know how that's going to help the people who are telling it. They're going to feel liberated, they're going to feel powerful, and they're going to finally feel like, they're telling their story to people who care and people who can learn from it. But what do you think the audience is going to get out of that?
I'm telling you, Judy, I have never experienced anything like that. I've done a lot of things in my life. I just swam with sharks and walked on fire in the last month. Okay? I'm not kidding you. And I've flown a helicopter into 20 of the biggest waterfalls in the world in the last month. That's what I've done. Okay? And
awesome.
nothing compares. And you can tell my enthusiasm compares to sitting in a room of women, just experiencing a woman having the courage to share something so deep from their heart. And it's so courageous that you are either inspired to share what you want to say, you are inspired to stand up and say, oh my gosh, you're like my hero, right? Because you actually had the courage and got over the shame or the experience of doing it. There is, it's a visceral, as you can tell, experience to see it. And I've seen it in several areas. We have several in colleges next year planned, and we're going for corporations as well. And we have several other main Truthteller tours in Seattle. And we've got a woman in Iowa that wants to do one in her community. It is amazing how many women want to just host one of these tours where women get up and share from the heart. Strictly not to self-promote themselves, but to really come from a place of, I am done with this story, or I need to experience this story, and here it is. And they lay it out, and then all these women from the audience just get the experience of courage, of truth, and of inspiration. It's incredible. Sorry, I'm a biggest cheerleader of it. I've never done anything like this with Women for One, and it's actually where we're going now.
No, it sounds incredible, and I don't mind you going on and on, because even with just what you're saying, this is going to get people, it's going to really encourage them to tell their stories and what it can truly do. Even if you don't come to the conference, they can sit back and think, oh my gosh, this really is powerful. And I'm sure that if we had Women for One's Truthteller Tour, a decade ago, that we'd be probably a little more forward in the women's movement today, just from so many people telling their truths. And I always say the biggest way to learn is from each other's stories, because my gosh, we all have them. And it doesn't matter what age you are. We have people coming to the conference who are in their 20s. It's okay. It doesn't matter. We've all been through. And wow, you went through one of the most impactful things, I think, of 5 years old in your life. So we all have.
I will tell you, Judy, this is not just about devastation or wounding or sexual abuse, which I've been through, as you know. This is about all the triumphs in the world too, right? Women are freaking powerful. Like this, that's what I love about Women for One. This is not just about, and I'm not diminishing it because I'm actually an incest survivor. I'm saying women need to share all of their stories, not just of the victimization of us. We need to share everything to show our power and to really claim that power so that we can become truth-telling sisters. So that's a perfect way to wrap that up. It's the truth-telling of sisterhood.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you in person again. And how can people find out about more Truthteller tours? You're going to Seattle and you said Iowa. Can they go to womenforone.com?
Yes, and we have a Truthteller Tour button on the side, and you can also email us at info@womenforone.com or email me at kelly@womenforone.com. Come to the conference, come to our table, and watch the tour, because we have this new incredible Truthteller ambassador system where women can come and become ambassadors of their community and create the tour on their own.
Oh, how wonderful. I didn't hear about that yet. I can't wait to see more of that.
We'll talk about it at the conference. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on our Cutting Edge webinar this evening. And again, thank you for your support and your friendship and everything that you do to make this world a better place for women and men. We have a few men coming to the conference, so they're going to learn a lot about us women too. I think actually they're the smartest men because they can learn a lot. So, and thank you for everyone for coming on the call this evening. And we will see you in 9 days in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.